So let's say you finally found the right build. It complements your playstyle, and you can rely on it to get you through endgame activities solo, quick and easy. However, the attributes are super low. None of the pieces are optimized, and your build has so much potential to perform way better than it currently is. Now, many of you already know this, but having a fully optimized build as opposed to not having any of your pieces optimized can make a huge difference in your damage out, survivability, so on and so forth. And although optimizing just one attribute roll to max on one piece of gear won't really make a big difference, it gets powerful when you optimize all of your pieces. But as many of you know, optimization can get super expensive. So you're gonna need quite a bit of material if you plan on having all your pieces optimized. So with that being said, in today's video, I'll be showing you guys the fastest ways to farm for optimization material. Also, stick around till the end because I'll be revealing how you can max out on material resources and get them overflowing like this. Okay, this is the fastest way to stack up on resources. So stay tuned for that. This video will mainly be for beginners or returning players, but if you're a veteran, I still encourage you to stick around because you never know, you may just learn something new, right? So without further ado, let's get started. So when it comes to gear and weapon optimization, any attribute on any gear and weapon, including exotics, can be fully optimized. And in order to do so, it will require 4 different types of material. So first, you'll need a gear weave or weapon alloy, depending on whether you're optimizing a piece of gear or weapon. Then you'll need both field recon data and shade calibration material. And finally, you'll need a faction material. Now, both of the field recon data and shade calibration are always required for every optimization. So you'll be needing a lot of both the field recon data and SHD calibration. On the other hand, the other 2 materials, the gear weave in this instance and faction assessments, may be different depending on the item being optimized. So for this instance, since this is a mask piece, I'm going to need some mask gear weave and some hyena tactical assessments. Now, one thing to note about these faction assessments is that each tactical assessment is assigned to a specific gear piece and weapon. So in other words, when it comes to optimizing masks and SMGs, you're always going to need hyena assessments. And for holsters and shotguns, you'll need the Riker's tactical assessment, so on and so forth. So now, what's the fastest way to acquire these assessments? Well, for one, you can craft them if you have the blueprint. So you can get all of the blueprints to craft any of these optimization material by completing control points on challenging or higher. But I'll show you what you can do to farm these fast if you don't have the blueprint. Also, I wouldn't advise crafting any field recon data or SHD calibration material unless you absolutely need to, because the amount that you get per bundle is not worth the cost. Especially for the SHD calibration, don't waste your resources crafting these. 500 electronics, carbon fiber, and titanium for just 5 SHD calibration? Like seriously? If that's not the biggest ripoff in history, then I honestly don't know what is. So save your resources and don't bother crafting these 2. However, feel free to craft any of the weapon or gear materials as well as the faction materials. These, unlike both the field recon data and SHD calibration, are absolutely worth the cost. And again, if you need any of the blueprint for these bundles, you can get them from completing control points on challenging or higher. The blueprints you get will be random, but once you have it, you won't get any duplicates. Also, you get field recon data from completing control points as well. I think you get about 4 from what I believe. And you also get field recon data from clearing landmarks in the dark zone, which is, in my opinion, the fastest way to farm for field recon data as a beginner, mainly because it only takes like 1 to 2 minutes to clear a DZ landmark. So this is a great way to farm for field recon data as well. Now, if you're a newer player or returning and you don't have the blueprint, then one great way to stack up on SHD calibration is by completing the daily or weekly projects that reward them. So if you go into the open world map and go to your projects menu, you should see all your daily and weekly projects. And as you can see, just by completing some of these projects, you will be rewarded with SHD calibration, exotic components, as well as a host of other great rewards. Some projects will also reward you with optimization caches, which contain the bundles you need for optimizing your items. And for the gear weave and weapon alloy, you can easily get these from simply deconstructing gear or weapons. You can also get some gear weave, weapon alloy, and other optimization materials from the hunters and other enemies in Countdown as well. But the hunters tend to drop more gear weave and weapon alloy though. Also, I forgot to mention this, but you can also get SHD calibration from the crates in Countdown. Now, for the faction tactical assessments, you get these from eliminating named bosses. Just keep in mind that these faction tactical assessments will only drop in relevance to the matching faction of enemy. So, what's the best place to farm for these tactical assessments? Well, the best thing for you to do if you don't have these blueprints and you really need these assessments is to farm missions. More specifically, the missions that can be done within like 8 to 10 minutes. So say for example, you need the True Sons tactical assessment. Well, the Lincoln Memorial mission has the True Sons enemy faction, and it can be done in as little as 8 minutes. Running shorter length missions will just make this method more worth the time. So Lincoln Memorial is a great place to farm for True Sons tactical assessments. And DCD Headquarters is another short mission that's great for Outcast assessments. Then you have Bank Headquarters, which is also fast for Hyena assessments. And for the Rikers and Cleaners faction, you can fast travel to New York and run both the Tombs for Rikers and Stranded Tanker for Cleaners. And for the Black Tusk tactical assessments, you can do any of the invaded missions, including any other missions with the Black Tusk enemy faction, like Camp White Oak or Coney Island, for example. And I believe you get about 4 per drop as opposed to getting 10 from crafting, so getting the blueprint and crafting these would be a lot better. Another thing you can do is farm for optimization caches, and one great way to do that is by running Countdown and using your Countdown credits to buy optimization caches from the Countdown vendor. So as you exit the base of operations and look towards your left, you should see another section outside, and it should be the second vendor down on the right side. Each optimization cache is about 145 credits. So considering you get to extract during each Countdown run, that's about 1 cache per run. Also just keep in mind that each optimization cache will come with a random tactical assessment, weapon alloy, and gear weave. So you'll get 4 of these 3. But you will always get a fixed amount of field recon data and SHD calibration, so you'll get 5 recon data and 3 SHD calibration. So now, what's the fastest way to farm materials, like electronics, carbon fiber, titanium, all that jazz? Well, there are 2 very effective ways of doing so. So if you're a beginner or you just have a low watch level, this first method will work great and you can gather a ton of material doing this. So if you pull up your open world map, zoom out and look towards the East Mall area, you should see 3 control points. So Metro Ruins, Sinkhole, and Solar Farm. Oh wait, my bad. There's actually 4 control points in the East Mall area, so you have the crash site control point on the far right. But this control point is optional, you don't need to do this one unless you just need a ton of material. We're just gonna focus on these 3 control points, okay? So Metro Ruins, Sinkhole, and Solar Farm. So now, what you wanna do is complete these 3 control points. Well, actually, you don't have to complete all 3 of them, you can just complete one of them for this to work. However, completing all 3 will yield you more material resources. Another thing is, this area around the solar farm control points has a ton of resource containers, so when I'm doing this, I would normally complete this control point first. So now, once you complete this control point or any of these control points, find the control point officer and speak to him. He should have a green star indicator over his head. So once you speak to the officer, you will need to donate some resources to him, like components, food, and water. After donating those resources, the Detection 2 perk should be unlocked, which will basically highlight resource and loot crates within a 20-meter radius for 10 minutes. This allows you to see resource crates nearby through walls, so you can take advantage of this short 10-minute window of opportunity to loot as many of these resource crates as you can, and there are a lot in this solar farm area. There was a route that I used to follow, but it's been so long that I forgot. Since my watch level is much higher, I can get resources way quicker by creating a mule character. And for those who don't know what that is, I'll be explaining that next because that's actually the second method I wanted to show you, which is much faster. But if you have a low watch level, then try this method with the Control Point Detection 2 perk. Also, once the 10-minute timer gets close to running out, you can always go back and speak to the Control Point officer to reset it. You won't have to donate anything, the timer will reset once you speak to the officer. Or you can simply just clear the other control points in this area, speak to the officers, and loot more crates. Also, if you need more resources, you can try completing control points that are close to underground entrances, so that right after you speak to the control point officer, you can get the detection perk and loot these tunnels because some of these tunnel systems have a ton of resource crates. So if you look at the open world map, you can find control points that are close to these tunnel systems, like this one here, for example. So you see this control point, Toxic Alley, has 3 underground entrances next to it, right? Some of these tunnels are loaded with resource crates, so by completing control points nearby and getting the Detection 2 perk active, you can loot these tunnels super fast. Okie dokie. So now I'm going to show you the fastest way to gather materials, and you can actually get your materials overflowing the cap like this. So it's pretty cool. The first thing you'll need to do is create a new character. Also, this will work the best if your watch level is at least 3000 or higher. But if your watch level is low, you can still do this, but to be honest, it won't be worth the time. Now, the idea behind this method, for those who don't know, is making a new character in order to get back all of your watch points from your main. So essentially, the higher your watch points, the more you will get out of doing this. So you want to create a character and select the Warlords of New York campaign, right? Once you complete the tutorial mission, you can now fast travel back to Washington, D.C. without having to complete the Warlords of New York storyline. From here, depending on your situation, you can either solo level to 40 by completing Dark Zone landmarks, or you can have a friend boost you. If you're gonna have a friend boost you though, I recommend having them do Lincoln Memorial or the DCD headquarters mission, because these missions can be completed in like 8 minutes. So you can reach level 40 in a little over an hour. Once you reach level 40, head over to the White House and speak to the quartermaster to claim your SHD watch. Now this next step is important. You're gonna spend your watch points on all of these materials, okay? So ceramics, polycarbonate, steel, carbon fiber, so on and so forth, okay? Use up all of your points on these, but ignore the credits though. And if you don't have a lot of points, use them on the materials you need the most of. So if you really need electronics, then max out your electronics first. On the other hand, if you have a lot of watch points, then max out on all of this except for the credits. Now, once you've done that, and if you still have watch points left after maxing all of these out, that's fine. But once you've maxed all of these materials out or used up all of your watch points, head over to the crafting station and speak to this NPC sitting right here. Now, you should be able to buy all of your shared blueprints and resources from your main account, and if you manage to max out all of your resources with your excess points, you should be well over the cap. So this is a great way to not only stack up on material resources if you have a lot of watch points, but it's nice to go over the cap so you have plenty. But anyway, that will do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and if you made it to the end, you're an amazing person. Most people have a very short attention span, so kudos to you. I love you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them for me in the comments section. This is Prajna, good luck farming, and don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Also, if anyone is interested or needs a team for raids, incursions, or even if you simply just want to group up with other Division 2 players for completing activities or whatnot, check out the Sword Gaming Discord server. A link will be in the description as well. But you better bring some pizza. Nah, I'm kidding. Anyway, keep it cool, keep it classy, and see you in the next video. Peace out.